Good day, everyone. We are on paragraph 26 of chapter 5 of Philosophy of Freedom, so I'm going to get started with 26. To explain a thing, to make it intelligible, means nothing else than to place it into the context from which it has been torn by the peculiar character of our organization as already described. A thing cut off from the whole world does not exist. All isolating has only subjective validity for our organization. For us, the universe divides itself up into above and below, before and after, cause and effect, thing and mental picture, matter and force, object and subject, etc. What appears to us in observation as separate parts becomes combined, bit by bit, through the coherent, unified world of our intuitions. By thinking, we fit together again into one piece, all we have taken apart through perceiving. And we have 26 summarized as follows. Through thinking, we can join together into one everything that we separated through perceiving. So I think the main point of that paragraph is just the last sentence. The last two sentences is that thinking allows us to put together these things that we separated through our organization. So it is the way we're organized that makes our perceptions, we perceive things as separate. When we see a car, we see, a tire and this and that, and then we see it on the road, and then it's our thinking that makes it part of something else. It connects all the other perceptions that we have, that because the nature of perceiving is that we're getting bits and pieces of percepts here and there, and it's thinking that connects the percepts that we gather throughout the day, throughout our life, and it unifies things. So all these separate parts over the years, you can make connections from something 5 years earlier, and just, here's the missing piece of the, what I needed to make sense of this all, and then your thinking just unifies everything. So that's sort of what he's saying there, is that thinking puts together everything that we have taken apart through perceiving, because as mentioned earlier, we can't possibly perceive everything all at once just because of the nature of the way we're organized. It would just be impossible. So we have to accept how we are, is that we perceive things bit by bit, and it's thinking that makes things together and coherent. I'm going to move on to paragraph 27. The enigmatic character of an object consists in its separateness, but its separation is our own making and can, within the world of concepts, be overcome again. That's a short paragraph, and we had for the summary, the enigmatic quality of an object is dispelled when its separateness is returned to unity through the use of concepts. Again, what he's saying here is pretty straightforward. It's just that the separateness arises through the way we're organized, through the way we as humans are, our sense organs, we separate things and whatnot. It's just through the concepts and thinking that we put everything together. It's just the way we are designed, our sense organs, as mentioned earlier, we can't perceive everything all at once, so everything comes to us separately and whatnot. Okay, we're going to move on to paragraph 28. Except through thinking and perceiving, nothing is given to us directly. The question now arises, what significance of the percept according to our line of argument? Well, we have learned that the proof which critical idealism offers of the subjective nature of perceptions collapses. But insight into the falsity of the proof is not alone sufficient to show that the doctrine itself is erroneous. Critical idealism does not base its proof on the absolute nature of thinking, but relies on the argument of naive realism when followed to its logical conclusion, cancels itself out. How does the matter appear when we have recognized the absoluteness of thinking? And we have 28 summarized as follows. Direct knowledge is only possible through the combination of thinking and perceiving. What is the significance of the percept given the absolute nature of thinking? So here he's going to start talking about critical idealism again. And he's asking, how does things appear for a critical idealist when we recognize the absoluteness of thinking? And so really this paragraph, he's just bringing up questions, and the two questions he asks is what significance of the percept according to Steiner's line of argument, and then how does the matter appear when we recognize the absoluteness of thinking. So he's bringing up these very important questions. So we're going to move on to 29. Let us assume that a certain perception, for example red, appears in my consciousness. To continued observation, this percept shows itself to be connected with other percepts, for example, a definite figure, and with certain temperature and touch percepts. This combination I call an object belonging to the sense-perceptible world. I can now ask myself, over and above the percepts just mentioned, what else is there in the section of space in which they appear? I shall then find mechanical, chemical, and other processes in that section of space. I next go further and study the process I find on the way from the object to my sense organs. I can find movements in an elastic medium, which by their very nature have not the slightest in common with the percepts from which I started. I get the same result when I go on and examine the transmission from sense organs to brain. In each of these fields I gather new percepts, but the connecting medium in which weaves through all these spatially and temporally separated percepts is thinking. The air vibrations which transmit sounds are given to me as percepts, just like the sound itself. Thinking alone links all these percepts to one another and shows them to us in their mutual relationship. We cannot speak of anything existing beyond what is directly perceived, except what can be recognized through the ideal connections of percepts, that is, connections accessible to thinking. The way objects as percepts are related to the subject as percept, a relationship that goes beyond what is merely perceived, is therefore purely ideal. That is, it can be expressed only by means of concepts. Only if I could perceive how the percept object affects the percept subject, or conversely could watch the building up of the perceptual pattern by the subject, would it be possible to speak as modern physiology and the critical idealism based on do. Their view confuses an ideal relation, that of the object to the subject, with a process which we could speak of only if it were possible to perceive it. The proposition, no color without a color-sensing eye, cannot be taken to mean that the eye produces the color, but only that an ideal relation, recognizable by thinking, subsists between the percept color and the percept eye. Empirical science will have to ascertain how the properties of the eye and those of the colors are related to one another, by what means the organ of sight transmits the perceptions of color, and so forth. I can trace how one percept succeeds another in time and is related to others in space, and I can formulate these relations to conceptual terms, but I can never perceive how a percept originates out of the non-perceptible. All attempts to seek any relations between percepts other than thought relations must of necessity fail. And I'm actually going to finish off the summary of 29 because we're out of time. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.